Welcome, everybody. This is two EdTech guys take questions and share cool stuff. And it's December. And I managed to get the title out, and I'm real pleased with that because I was almost greeting you for my Rotary Club, which I do programs for that as well, but that's just a different thing. And I've already turned on the captions. All right, so a moment of success there. And we thank you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for watching this live. If you're part of the live studio audience, not really a studio, or you're part of the crowd that is watching the recording of this. And hopefully there'll be something along the way that Richard or I, more likely Richard, will say that might just be valuable to you. So feel free to listen closely for that to happen. Who is Richard, you might ask? Richard, tell us who you are.
Richard, I started freetechforteachers.com 14 years and a week ago, and 16,000 blog posts later, it's still going, writing about all kinds of cool EdTech tools, tips, and strategies.
I love that the captions caught you saying 60 instead of 16, as if 16 weren't like all you'd need there.
60,000, that would be. I don't think I could do that. No, can't do it.
You'd have to have a lot of really short posts.
Like every sentence would be a blog post.
Yeah. Hey, check this out. Right, link.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, happy anniversary a week ago. Very, very cool that is something we're celebrating. So everybody, a little bit of that. My little attempt to save the world from ignorance, one creative video at a time, is nextvista.org. It's a library of videos, all kinds of videos about academic topics. For the most part, that's actually the bulk of the videos. There are videos about different communities around the world. There are videos about service to others, because we think kids making videos about nonprofits in their community and telling their stories so that those nonprofits can attract more support and volunteers and stuff. We think that's a cool thing. If you do as well, stay in touch. We'd be happy to highlight videos that your kiddos make as well. And there's more. There's videos about careers and learning English and all sorts of goodies. So feel free to give that a look. And we've launched Improve the World, where we're asking kids to come up with ideas that service clubs, like groups of adults, there's millions of adults. There's actually 1.2 million Rotarians, just my service crowd, that are getting together every week and finding ways to improve their communities. And we think it would be really cool to get in front of these clubs, or at least some of them, ideas that your students share, so that your student says, hey, it would really be cool if people did this and this. And that be something that some Rotary Club looks at and goes, whoa, that would be cool. We're going to do that. If you're interested in that, get in touch with me. All right, rh@nextvista.org or nextvista.org/contact. Trying to improve the world. So you know, today, December the 2nd, is Swedish Freedom of the Press Act. I think that was actually this was 1766, right? I think this was the first freedom of the press legislation anywhere in the world that I or Wikipedia knew of. In 1970, I was much younger at the time, but I was around. Thank you very much. The United States Environmental Protection Agency began operations in an era of nasty climate change. That seems like maybe a pretty good move. And yesterday, December the 1st, seems kind of an odd thing to do, but it's the day after Rosa Parks Day. I mean, how cool is that, right? So such an important moment in American history when Rosa Parks is like, no, I don't want to move to the back of the bus. Rock and roll. So with all that, let's tell you a little bit about what we do. The full name of our little program here is Two EdTech Guys Take Questions and Share Cool Stuff, which pretty much tells you exactly what this is all about. So with that, Richard, get us started. What is our first question today?
All right, first question was from Stephanie, who said, good morning from a chilly but sunny Maryland. Have you been shoveling snow yet? Ha ha. No, I have not shoveled snow yet, but it did snow today, 2 inches of snow for the first time. Not enough to shovel yet. But the first real question came from Brian, who asked, I'd like to speak to my class, have the laptop mic pick up my voice. Then on my big screen in front of the class, have a window open that would simultaneously translate into French what I'm saying. Almost like subtitles, except it would be one large page, perhaps with a black background, so the translation would scroll. Well, the online version of PowerPoint does that. And actually, the desktop Windows version of PowerPoint now does that as well, as does the Microsoft Translator. You can do all of those. I'd put a big blank slide, just put a big blank slide up. Doesn't matter what's on the slide, put a big blank slide up, and you can specify how large you want your subtitles to be, or how large you want the text to be. If you want it to be at the top of the page, bottom of the page, you got it smack dab in the middle of the page if you wanted to. You can customize the color scheme if you are so inclined, so you don't have light yellow text on a white background. But yeah, that's what I would do. Use PowerPoint and the built-in translator. You can speak in English and have it show up in French. You can speak in French and have it show up in Portuguese if you wanted to. There's a lot of support for that. And I'll just throw in cool guy, Mike Tollefson, is the product manager for Microsoft EDU. Very, very active on Twitter. And anytime you've got any kind of Microsoft-y question, he's really, really helpful and has a great YouTube channel as well. So check that out.
So Richard, see if you can find his Twitter page. Let's get that in the chat, and then we'll get that in the links page for the program as well. Brian, let me add that's a cool question that you're asking. Keep this in mind as well, that there's only so much accuracy that tends to happen, and one of the factors is that if someone is not speaking in a way that is easy for the system to interpret, then you're going to have a mess on your hands. And one way to practice this kind of thing is just to use the captioning tool like we're using it right now. So the question is it catching every word I say? And it does a pretty good job with what I say. But why is that? I'm a language guy. I've been teaching language for years. And so I know how to, kind of slow down my speech a little bit, to articulate a little bit more, that kind of thing. But it's the kind of thing you should practice doing. And if you can get good input, then the automatic translation system can give it a shot. And then at that point, you start getting used to speaking in simpler sentences because the translators are better at that. Richard, back to you.
Yeah, well, and speaking of slowing down your speech, which is one of my problems sometimes, Microsoft online version of Microsoft PowerPoint also has a cool tool called Presenter Coach, which you can use to practice presenting. It'll give you feedback on how fast you're speaking. It'll give you feedback on how many ums and uhs and filler noises you make. And it will give you feedback on your language complexity. So check that out if you are so inclined. All right, another question. Question from Kenneth, a short question. It's, have you seen the JotForms app builder? Yes, I have. It's really cool. It's a lot like Glide apps. Some of you may have seen Glide apps in the past. It lets you take the data that's in a spreadsheet and turn that into a kind of mobile app. It's not truly a mobile app. You're not going to upload it to the, you're not going to submit it to the Google Play Store or to the Apple App Store, but they do have some really cool mobile friendly way to make your own mobile app. So jotform.com and their app builder and Glide apps, both excellent options for creating a mobile friendly, basically a mobile friendly website. It's kind of what it is. It's not really an app per se, but it's cool.
I traded a couple of messages with Ken about this question and asked kind of, well, how has he used it and stuff like this? And apparently he's had some kids do some pretty cool projects. So I hope in a future episode to report on Ken's work and maybe even share something along those lines. So yeah, great stuff there, Ken. Thank you. Speaking of great stuff, Richard, I think you've got some great stuff to share.
I do. So this actually came to me from a reader of my newsletter named Erin. She sent this to me as a response to something I sent out a couple of weeks ago. She said, hey, have you seen classroomscreen.com? I said, no. And then I started looking at it. I was like, how have I missed this in my life? It puts a whole bunch of handy classroom management tools on one screen that you can display in front of your classroom or share with your class by a QR code. You can have a random name picker, a noise meter, a countdown timer, a count up timer, I guess a stopwatch, for lack of a better term, a little whiteboard tool. You can add like sticky notes to it and just have it all on this one screen that you put in front of your class. Really cool. And then you can share your screen with the class. They just scan the QR code or you give them the link to it and they can put it on their devices as well. So everyone can be using the same countdown timer. We can all see the same countdown timer simultaneously. So if I start it and Rushton has the link, his countdown timer is going the same time as mine. Really cool. Yeah. Who is? Oh yeah, Sheila. Yeah, I had never seen this before. This is an awesome tool. I was like, holy cow! How have I missed this thing? Sheila's using it. Judith likes it. So cool. Yeah, that's that.
It is a very cool tool, right? And actually over time, they've added quite a few little bits and bobs to it. So it's kind of gotten like slicker and slicker. And take a look, right? This is the kind of thing where it's a really low barrier to entry.
Yeah. Well, I'll add in I love the sound meter, right? Like my sensitivity to noise is very different than others because I struggle with background noise. So I'm like, is it me thinking that the class is getting loud or is the class actually getting loud? Right. Having that sense of that noise meter there kind of takes away Mr. Byrne is just being sensitive and makes it like a little bit more objective. To that end, there's a cool tool I used to use a lot called Bouncy Balls that also does the same thing, where it shows you a noise meter bouncing up and down. So check that out. Yeah, that's my cool share of the week.
Well, that is a very cool share, I'd say. Let's see what other coolness might be out there. Boy, do I have a doozy for you guys. The VING project. VING, like the last 4 letters of the word giving. What is this about? I was just so stunned at how cool it is that this thing is out there. I mean, it's just, you guys are like, get on with it. All right, here you go. So what this is, that 2 folks started a foundation and they wanted to promote philanthropy among young people. And they wanted teens to be able to think about giving. So what they do is this is real. This is a real thing. They invite teens to make a 1 to 2 minute video. It has to be a teen, 14 to 18 years old, about another person. That person can't be in the immediate family, and that person has to be 18 or older. And in that video, you describe why that person should receive a check for $1,000. $1,000, right? So there are these stories of, hey, this person, has always given to the community and does all these things, but has had it really hard, over this period or whatever. And I think, and they essentially, they go through what they get and they send checks for $1,000 to the people who submitted it to pass along to these people. So your student could say, hey, I think, like the person who serves us in the lunch line at school, who's always, like there to volunteer and this kind of thing, just a wonderful human being we all love, but and maybe that person has it tough financially. So I think it would be great for that person to get a check for $1,000. The foundation, the VING project, might just say, we agree, and send a check for $1,000. Now, actually, and a big sorry to Judith, one of our favorite Canadians, it's only for US residents. Sorry about that. But how cool is this? And how cool would it be if it, say, inspired people in other places? I don't mean just in the United States, but anywhere, right? Just different communities to say, we should give kids the opportunity to make those kinds of cases. So the VING project, vingproject.org. Feel free to give that a look. And I'll add this little share as well. So one of my favorite Christmas videos, Sainsbury's is it's a crowd in England it's a grocery chain or something, right? and they apparently put on a fairly involved Christmas ad every year. This one back from 2014 is just one of the more poignant videos I've ever seen. It's about an episode that apparently actually happened when on Christmas, British and German troops that were on either side of the line got together and played some football, soccer, and just spent some time together. And it's just one of those stories. So at any rate, it's beautiful, beautiful video. They did such a good job with it. Give it a look. It will touch you. There you go. I'll bet we can be touched by some more questions. What do you think?
All right, let's take a look at the question. We have a question. Hey, from Judith. And this one is, I have a language teacher who is wondering how she can get students to overdub videos, movies, so that they can change the original language, English, into French or Spanish. Is this doable? Legal is a different question. She's trying to get them to use languages in a comfortable way. It's kind of a neat idea to get kids engaged. Yeah. Rushton, why don't you take a crack at this one first?
Happy to do so. So let's take a look at it from two angles. One, is it legal to do this? Yes. You can take video from anywhere and overdub it and play it in your classroom for educational purposes, as long as it's in your classroom, right? This is following fair use provisions in American law anyway, but that's okay, right? Most countries actually have similar laws related to this, so that's a possibility. But let's talk about the tech side of it. So how do you do this? Well, one way to do it is to get the video, play the video, but screencast it with the sound off, and say what you're going to say along the way. So that adds kind of the fun challenge of making sure you're talking at the right time as you do the screencasting recording. Screencastify, Screencast-O-Matic, lots of good tools. QuickTime on a Mac will allow you to do that as well. So those are some different ways to handle that.
Yeah, I would say the other thing you could do is use Edpuzzle, and Edpuzzle will let you record your own audio, or I should say add your own audio to a video to replace the existing audio. So you can do that. That would be my only 2 cents that I would add to that question. That makes sense?
And 2 cents well spent. Go ahead and take us to the second question in the second half of our little show.
The second question here came from Leanne, who's, did I get that right? Yeah, okay. Leanne asked, I have a question I'm hoping you can help with. Does form limiter in Google Forms allow a different max number of responses per question? And if not, how do you qualify for a different number of answers per question in a Google form response sheet? Or is there another Chrome extension or resource to use with Google Forms and Sheets? So the short answer to this is form limiter would do that if you are willing to set formulas in the corresponding Google Sheet. I don't know anyone who has that kind of time on their hands, who, unless you really are into, unless you're like Alice Keeler and you just love writing formulas in Google Sheets, that method is not for 90% of us.
And let's note that Alice can move about twice as fast as most of the human race, so that's part of it as well.
Yeah. So there's that piece as well. So for the rest of us, what I use is an add-on called Choice Eliminator. Actually, it's Choice Eliminator 2. The first version of it no longer exists. Choice Eliminator 2, and that will let you specify the number of responses you'll accept per question, and let you specify the number of answer choices per question that can be used. So for example, let's say I'm setting up a Google form for my students to sign up for after-school clubs, right? And so my question is, which is your first choice of an after-school club? Is it, language club, knitting club, or tuba club, right? And you can say that you're only going to allow the knitting club to be chosen 3 times. And then once it's chosen 3 times, it disappears from the list. That's a really cool feature. The one thing I'll caution you against, if you're trying to use it with, let's say, 500 people all at the same time, this script won't run fast enough to keep up with it. And I learned that from having tried to do it with the entire student body at once one time. So don't do that. But other than that, it's like for classroom use, it's great for classroom use. Just don't try to run it for a forum that's like your whole school is going to sign up for at once.
I got nothing to add to that.
Okay. I mean, you added the bit about how fast Alice Keeler is with Google Sheets. So
Good man. Spoken like a true friend. Keep going.
Yeah. All right. Question from Joan. Do you have any great tips for Google Slides? I use them frequently and wish they had a remove background feature like PowerPoint. I wish it did too, but it doesn't. So what I do, if I'm going to use Google Slides and I have a picture that I want to remove the background from, so I just like do a cutout of myself or something, or do a cutout of my dog and not use the rest of the background, I will use photoscissors.com. And I will use that tool to cut the background out. It does it automatically for you, and you can touch it up on the edges if you need to. And then take that new version of just the cutout and put that into the Google slide.
Yeah, I'd add that remove.bg.
Yep,
Another tool for that as well.
Yeah, I used to use remove.bg, but the file size is fairly small. Like you don't get a high resolution copy. So yeah, that's why I stopped using remove.bg.
Cool.
But there's others out there. Even Canva has a background remover. So
cool. That. And you added, did you add the one you mentioned first? Photo scissors.
I just dropped it in there.
Excellent.
I misspelled it the first time. I put an extra S in scissors.
Well, you know, that happens. And if that's like the worst thing that happens to you this week, I'd say you're doing really well.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
No, happy to help, man. Let's see. Have we handled our questions for the day?
There's one last one.
Let's see what we got.
About accessibility. Joanne asked the question, I'm looking for tech tools that support accessibility for all learners. Have any effective apps or tech tools to suggest? I sent Joanne the section of my practical EdTech handbook that's all about accessibility. But short version, a couple of things that always come to the top of my mind. If you're a Google Workspace user, get yourself the Grackle add-on for slides and documents, because that will run an accessibility check for all your materials. So I'd use that. If you're a Microsoft person and you are not familiar with Immersive Reader, that'd be my first stop. Immersive Reader is a wonderful tool that you can use to do all kinds of things, from adjusting the contrast of the page and the size of the page to having pages read aloud and all manner of cool little accessibility things. They were at one point even working on using Immersive Reader in virtual reality. I don't know how far that project has gone, but it's a Immersive Reader is a cool tool. So,
all right, I would add that Web Captioner is kind of a cool little one right there. I put that link in the chat, webcaptioner.com. It's on our links page as well for this episode. And you know, that's a good one to be able to just kind of toss on the screen so that people can follow what's being said. If there's a noise issue or a hearing issue involved, that's a good tool for it as well. Before we finish, let's see.
And Joanne in the chat said also read write Chrome extension.
Indeed. She asked about Doodly. Do you know anything about Doodly.com?
Doodle, the service that makes the videos.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Let us know in the chat, Joanne, if
The-
that's the one. Yes, she says.
Yeah. So the one that I haven't used it. It's my impression of it is that it's very similar to things like Powtoon and Animaker. But I haven't personally used it other than to look at it. Oh, you can add your own pictures. Okay.
That's nice.
You can do that in Animaker. I know you can do that in Animaker as well. But again,
There are always options, I think would be the final line on that one for sure.
Yeah.
Guys, speaking of options, I am going to add to the chat something that I think you just might be interested in, which is the newsletter. That is the thing that I put out every month. And I just put out the December newsletter, and I'll add that the offer that I make every month to give away a free Starbucks card often gets very few takers. So those of you who can do math, good odds. That's it. That's it. Just saying. And there's lots of good stuff in the newsletter as well. So that link is in the chat. Feel free to give it a look, see what you think. I've written some books. The books are about making your teaching better, the little ways to make your teaching better. Almost everybody can get better, right? I say almost. Everybody can get better at what they do as a teacher, and this has 50 different ways to do it. And the kind of things that you could read about before school and give them a shot, and you're a better teacher by lunch. Nothing wrong with that. Making your school something special is about fostering and sharing successes, and that just makes the environment personally and professionally more rewarding for everybody. And then there is technology, teamwork, and excellence, which is a way to help leaders see possibilities for being better leaders at schools through different tech tools and such. So those are available. We have this week's Next Vista inspiring video, which is called Acting on Your Heart. And it's a really sweet story about a guy who encounters a dog that is, as you can see from the screenshot, a bit emaciated, but there's a real nice ending to this one. So feel free to take a look at that as well. I'll get that in the chat. All right, tell us about this one, Richard.
well, I already mentioned that in passing, not really in passing, but yeah, the Practical EdTech Handbook is 75 pages of my favorite EdTech tools and tips, and lots of tutorials embedded within it. So check that out. You can get a copy of it for free. Just go to practicaledtech.com/weekly newsletter, and I'll send you a copy of it. You can go to my YouTube channel if you want to see me look just like I do right now, but explaining all kinds of interesting things, kind of like Choice Eliminator, which I talked about earlier. I have a tutorial on that I just put up. You can always send me an email, richard@burn.media. Follow me on Twitter. Stalk me on the internet. If you Google me, I am not the guy who wrote the children's book about penguins, but I will be happy to Skype with your class anyway.
I am still sorry to hear that. What you may not know is that at the end of the year, Richard and I just take a little time off. And then for the start of the year, we actually had all kinds of things coming up that served as problems for us. So it isn't until January the 20th that we will meet again. So it's a good 6 weeks away or something like that, 6-7 weeks away. So for those of you who are like, oh no, I need more Rushton and Richard, I can't imagine that's the case. But if it is the case, just write us and let us know. We are happy to be in touch with you. You can send questions to nextvista.org/contact. You can find out more and register for the next one. If you have registered for this one, we always encourage people to register. I will send you an email with a link that'll get you to the page where you can watch the recording of this if you're up to that, to register for the January 20th episode, or just send us a question or anything along those lines. I hope you have found something cool for yourself over the course of this episode. I hope that you're going to have a really good December, that you've got the opportunity to spend some time with family all, and we thank you very much for joining us. And with that, we will see you in 2022.